welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Mina and today's video is going to be something interesting. If you don't know who I am, hi, my name is Mina and almost every book I read makes me cry. I'm a crier. I have cried on this channel quite a few times because of quite a few videos or quite a few different books. It doesn't even have to necessarily be a sad book. I just feel a lot and so I cry a lot. So I thought it would be really interesting for me to read like objectively sad books that people talk about as sad and see how I feel about them and see if I do think that they're sad and see how many times I can cry in a single video apparently. I went to like different subreddits and I went through TikToks and I went through YouTube videos of people who have created a video like this and just gathered some books that I might be interested in that might make me cry, and I decided to start with Never Let Me Go by Kazuo Ishiguro. And a lot of people say that this book was really devastating and that the last like paragraph, I guess, or last page of this book really like resonated with them. This is also a movie, but I don't know if I'm gonna watch the movie. I just decided that it might be a good idea for me to start with this book and see if it makes me cry. Let's count how many times I cry. I started with Never Let Me Go by Kazuo Ishiguro, and I'm not that far in actually. I'm on page 26. I'm listening to the audiobook. I started listening to the audiobook because it's like nine-ish hours, and I am only like 3 chapters in, and I don't really think I was actually listening to it because I was listening to it on double speed, so I wasn't really processing everything that was going on. So I think I want to restart it. I am gonna sit in my bed for a little bit because it's still pretty early for the night. It's like 7:30 p.m. right now, even though it looks like it's 11 p.m. outside. I'm gonna restart the audiobook because I really actually want to understand what this story is about and actually get to know the characters instead of just like listening to it as background noise. So I'm gonna restart it and like scroll through Pinterest on my laptop and just do some other stuff while I listen to it. That is not gonna take too much of my brain capacity, so I can actually pay attention to what I'm reading or listening to at least. But I really like the writing style. That's what I do know. And I do know that a lot of people talk about this book, but they don't really say what this book is about. So I think that's interesting. And I also think that this is a movie, if I'm not wrong. And apparently this book is a Nobel Prize in Literature winner. So very excited. And I'm gonna give it another go and just start over from zero. Listening to a little bit more of Never Let Me Go by Kazuo Ishiguro, chapter 7, which means I am 27% complete. I have 7 hours and 10 minutes left, so that's a little bit over 100 pages because I've been following along in the actual physical book, and this is how far I've read and this is how much I have left. I'm on page 77 out of 288 pages. So I have like 200-ish pages, like 210 pages left. And I really want to finish this today because honestly, to be honest, wow, crazy verbiage of me, I really want to DNF this book. Unfortunately, I really do want to DNF this book. I don't know why. I am not going to, I promise. I'm actually going to push through and finish it, but I did not know that this was a dystopian book until today, until I have listened to like 25% of it. And yeah, it's basically about these children who are clones. From what I understand, I could be misunderstanding because I'm not like, I restarted it yesterday. I restarted it last night because I started it, I was 4 chapters in or 3 chapters in, then I restarted it, listened to it all over again, and now I'm on chapter 7 and I still feel like I don't understand what's going on, which makes me nervous because then I'm like, if I don't understand what's going on, how am I gonna find it sad? Like, it is a little bit sad because of the innocence of the children in it, because the children are clones and they're like secluded somewhere. I don't know if it's just because I'm not understanding the book or if it's the book that's supposed to be like it's a dystopian, so you're not really supposed to understand it, but I don't really know, and I don't know how this is going to be sad for me. I cry over a lot of books, actually. I said that in the intro. I am a very like openly crier. I cried over a lot of books that one is not supposed to cry over. I find a lot of things emotional. I feel a lot, and so it's not hard to make me cry, but I feel like I don't think I'm gonna cry with this one. Maybe just because I'm not understanding it. So I don't know. I am gonna listen to a little bit more of it while I do some other things. And after I finish with doing the things that I have to do, then I'm going to actually sit and physically read it. My goal is to get to a page 100 by the audiobook. Usually with an audiobook, it makes it so much easier for me to understand what I'm reading, but this one just seems to make me more confused, so I don't know. But like I said, I've been following along in the physical book while I listen to the audiobook. Don't know if that's doing anything for me, to be honest, which is such a disappointment that this is the start of the video. If this doesn't make me cry, something else surely will, because I am a crier, so you know. It is 2:08 p.m. and I have been listening to more of Never Let Me Go, and I'm on chapter 15. I'm 57% in. I have 4 hours and 12 minutes left. Yes, ma'am. And I have an update actually, which I did not think was going to happen. If I continue listening to it on double speed, which I am right now, then I will finish in like 2 hours and 6 minutes, which would be 4 p.m. or like 4:30 p.m. if I continue without any breaks in between, which is what I think I'm going to do, because believe it or not, I'm actually really getting into the story now. Once I was 40% into the book, I really started absolutely enjoying it so incredibly much. I don't know why that is. I don't know what happened at the 40% mark that made me be like, oh, wait a minute. This is not bad. I'm actually really enjoying the story. And I think it's because I realized like I started putting things together from the story, and basically these kids are like clones of other people that are made so they can donate their organs once they get to a certain age or they find the person that they're meant to donate to. So they're a bunch of kids and they can't do anything with their lives because their whole lives, they don't even have a future. If you read the Unwind series, which I'll put a picture of right here, I read that when I was like maybe 16, 17 years old. It kind of gives me that vibe where in that book series, it was like the bad kids get unwind or unmade, like they have to like donate their organs to other people and just be unmade. They're not human beings at that point. I think from what I remember, it's been like 10 years since I read it. So, you know, take that with a grain of salt. But this one also gives me that vibe where it's like these kids are growing up and they don't have a future. And I think that's what's sad about it. It's not sad in the emotions way where I feel like I want to cry. It's just sad like, oh, these poor kids, like they don't have a future. And they know that they don't have a future. They know that they're made so they can donate their organs later on in their life, and that their lives are not really their own. And I think that is what's really sad about it. And I don't know if I'm gonna cry. I really like the way that it's written. I like the characters. I like the narrator and the way that this book describes the characters and how they're feeling about things and how they think about things. I really am getting into it, and I'm really enjoying listening to it. So I don't know if I want to actually pick up the physical book and actually read it myself. I have been, like I said, like following along with the audiobook on the actual physical book. So like I'll have the audiobook playing and then I'll follow it along on the book in the actual physical book. But I don't know because I actually have other things I need to do. So I think that's what I'm going to do. We'll do a little bit more of like the chores that I have to do because I have some things that I want to get done before it gets dark outside. So I'm going to do that while I listen to a little bit more of the audiobook. And then I don't really know how far in the actual book I am because I haven't checked where I am in the physical book because I was working out and listening to this at the same time. So I worked out for like an hour, so I listened to like 2 hours on double speed. But yeah, I'll just have to check in the actual physical book and see how far in I am. It makes me think a lot. And yeah, that's my thought process for now. I will see you when I have another update. Hopefully when I'm done with the book, but I don't think that's gonna happen. I finished Never Let Me Go, and ooh, girl, this was rough. Girl. Wow. The last like 30%, really painful. Really painful. I do understand why people say that this is a very, very sad book. It's very sad to the point where reading the last like couple of pages was really, really difficult. Oh my God. Yeah, that was really, really painful. The ending was really, really painful. I feel like had I been a little bit more attached to the characters from the very beginning, I feel like I would have cried absolutely 100%. I felt like the first 50% was a little iffy for me. I had a hard time getting involved in the story and actually understanding what was going on and like understanding the characters and why they were doing the things that they were doing and what the storyline is. I did not know what this book was about going into it, which was very difficult because it's a very complicated idea. At least it was for me for some reason. And I read a lot of dystopia, so I don't know why. It's very heavy. I think I'm going to be thinking about this book for a while. Very heavy, and it's not the type of sadness that makes me want to bawl my eyes out for some reason. It's just the type of sadness that it just makes my heart feel heavy. I feel like there's like a heaviness and like a gloominess that's settled over my heart and over my chest, and it's making it a little bit harder than it was earlier this morning to actually just be happy. Like genuine, I feel like I'm like doing something wrong if I'm like happy or smiling or laughing for some reason. It just feels like the story is very real. The characters feel very real. I feel like I experienced everything myself and like I got to know these characters myself, and that makes it very difficult to like just move on from it, I think. And this week is gonna be very difficult since I'm gonna be reading one sad book after another. A very interesting premise, a very interesting idea. I love the way that it was written. I love the characters. At least I loved them by the end. And the last scene, oh, that hurt so bad. Oh, that hurt so bad. Oh, the last scene when she's there and she's imagining, if you know, you know. Oh, that hurt real bad. That hurt real bad. I was sitting there. That was the only scene where I felt like I could shed a tear had I been a little bit more attached to the characters. But because I wasn't for like 50% of the book, it was kind of really, really sad, but not to the point where I wanted to like bawl my eyes out. I don't know how I want to rate this. I want to give it 4 stars just because of how much I loved the second 50%, but the first 50% of the book is like very iffy for me. So I think I'm gonna settle on 4 stars because I feel like the second half made up for the first half, and the fact that I didn't understand what was going on for the first half of the book. Yeah, I really, really liked it, and this is very heavy. I have decided that next I'm going to read When Breath Becomes Air by Paul. Not gonna even try to pronounce that last name. Yeah, I don't know what this is about. All I know is that this is apparently very sad, and a lot of people have talked about it being very sad, and I thought I might as well give it a try because it's also a very short book. It's only like 200 something pages. So I'm very, very excited. Apparently it's a memoir. That's all I know. But I do hope it makes me cry because I feel like so far, even though I've only read one book, I expected it to make me cry, and that hasn't happened. So hopefully at least one does. And I'm very excited about this one. This has been on my TBR for a very long time. weird. I'm drying my hair, so I have a shirt on under here. That's everybody who watches this channel knows that I do that often. I finished When Breath Becomes Air. I'm laughing because I'm uncomfortable. I'm laughing because actually the thought of having my face the way that I cried about this book on this channel in this video makes me so just uncomfortable because I bawled my eyes out over this book. This book is about this guy. We follow this guy. Let me be respectful. This book is about Dr. neurosurgeon Paul, who we follow through his life when he's younger and then when he decides that he wants to become a neurosurgeon and a neuroscientist, and then he gets cancer, and then we just follow his story through that. And oh my god, is this book painful. This book was so painful. Nobody warned me. No one warned me. I bawled my eyes out, as you saw. If I keep it in this video, bawled my eyes out. I ended up finishing it in the bathroom because I have this thing where if I know a book is gonna make me cry, I like to finish it in the bathroom so I can cry in the bathroom. Not saying it's a good thing, not saying it's a thing you should do. I bawled my eyes out like a baby. I gave this book 5 stars. I definitely recommend it if you really want a book that will hit, you know, to places where you don't even know exist. This book did that. I could not breathe because of how much I cried. I ended up taking a shower because I just needed to get under the hot water and just bawl my eyes out for another 10 minutes after I finished this book. I am going to be thinking about this book for a very long time after today, and I don't think it will ever leave me. There's actually this quote on the back by the New York Times that says, finishing this book and then forgetting about it is simply not an option. And I think that's absolutely correct because of the way that this book is told. And just talking about it is so painful because knowing that this man, just the things that he went through, the lines in this book, the way that the cancer topic is like described in this book. If you've ever dealt with anyone in your life that has had cancer, or if you've had a loved one struggle with cancer, beat cancer, or pass away from cancer, then you know how difficult it is to watch somebody that you love go through something like that. And reading about him and getting to know him and know his voice, and this happens to him, it's just so devastating, and I absolutely adore it, and I understand why everybody swears by this book and everybody loves this book. I will be thinking about this for a very, very long time, and I'm so glad that I've had the pleasure and the absolute honor of having read this book because I think it's so important, and I am so happy that I got to experience what this book was about because it's such an important story just to Paul himself. May he rest in peace, just like to who he is. This book was so important, and he spent so much of his time in the end of his life putting this book together, and so I definitely recommend it. Please read it if you haven't yet because I feel like you're missing out if you haven't, and it's such an important story and such an important man, and just seeing his picture on the back of the book makes me want to burst into tears. So I'm gonna put this book down before I actually start crying again. The next book is, you know, I feel like it might make me cry, but this is a very 50-50 up in the air situation. I have Beartown by Frederick Bachman. Now, the very first Frederick Bachman book that I've read is Anxious People, and I absolutely adored it and I loved it, but I don't feel like I really got into it as much as people do get into it. It is just really beautiful. It gets you to care about every single character, which is something that I don't see done often because whenever I read a novel, I'm just like, there are some characters that I don't care about, but with Anxious People, I cared so much about every single character and everything going on in their lives, and he has such a beautiful way of writing and such a beautiful way of describing a scene and making you feel just such a human connection to every character in the novel, and so I knew that I would have to give this one a try. I know a lot of people talk about this book being emotional, and a lot of people cry about this book, and I just love Frederick Bachman, and I know a lot of people love his writing, and I am one of those people. I've only ever read Anxious People by him, so I would like to broaden my horizons and read a little bit more of his writing, and because of how I felt reading Anxious People, I felt like it was a good idea to jump into this one because I know Anxious People made me emotional to the point where I almost cried, but I really didn't, so I wonder if this one will be the one that makes me cry or not. Either way, I'm so excited to read a Frederick Bachman book, and yeah, I'm very, very excited. now on page 128 and I'm like 300 pages away from the end. It's basically the story about this town who cares about nothing but hockey, and something happens. In the beginning, you see like the opening thing is that apparently there's two people in the forest holding a pew pew. I don't know if you can say that word on YouTube, to the other's head. And this is the story of how we got there. And like I said, I'm like a third of the way through, I guess, ish. Not really, like 20-ish% of the way through. And the only thing about Frederick Bachman that I struggle with a little bit is the fact that he tells so much details in his writing, which is a good thing, don't get me wrong. That's absolutely an interesting thing because you get to care about every single character in the book, and I really do. I think I am enjoying this one a lot more than I enjoyed Anxious People, which is so strange because I didn't think I could love any other book more than I loved Anxious People, but I do love this one so incredibly much, and I care about every single character so incredibly much because in the 100 pages that I've read so far, you get to actually know who they are, why they are the way that they are, why they care about the things that they care about, which is such a beautiful thing. But also at the same time, it makes reading it so much slower. I've been reading it over the course of 2 days now. And yesterday I read 70-ish pages, and today I've read like 40-ish pages. And yeah, it's just taking a lot out of me. And I've read for a lot this morning, but like I said, it's just taken me a lot longer than usual, which is why when I made this video, I was kind of questioning if I should read this one or not because of how long it would take me to read it, because Anxious People took me so long to read as well. It's just the fact that there's so much, like the pages are not small and there's a lot of writing on them. And he goes on tangents that makes reading it take a little bit longer than it would had you been reading like a romance book or something like that. But like I said, it's a good thing because it makes you care about the people and it makes you care about every single character. So when you eventually do get to the beginning, which is also the end, you feel a little bit more for the characters. I don't know if that makes any sense to anybody else, but yeah, I am gonna sit and read for a little bit more. I don't know that I'll finish it today. I don't think that's gonna happen, but my goal is to at least get to page 250 today, which shouldn't be hard because that's like 130 pages, 120 pages. I should be able to get to do that, and then maybe tomorrow I'll just finish it because I do have to start another video on Friday. So girls are told that the only thing they need to do is their best, that will be enough as long as they give everything they've got. When they themselves become mothers, they promise their daughters that it's true, that if we just do as well as we can, if we're honest and work hard, look after our family and love each other, then everything will be all right. Everything will be fine. There's nothing to be frightened of. Children need the lie to be brave enough to sleep in their beds. Parents need it to be able to get up in the morning. I finished with Bertan last night and I kind of needed a moment to process everything that happened. I would absolutely 100% check the trigger warnings before you read this book. This book is so, yeah, I didn't cry So let's get that out the way. I didn't cry, but I also gave it 5 stars because I think this is such an important story to tell. This is a story of community, of like literally first and foremost, this is a story about community and like families and just complicated like connections with people and like oh my god, it's so good. Please. Oh my god, I think I absolutely adored this even more than Anxious People. Every time I think about it, I just get so much, I get hit with so much emotion because it was just such a beautiful novel. It's written so beautifully. It makes me just feel so heavy. This is kind of like reading Never Let Me Go, but so far, like if I were to rank them between the saddest to least saddest, When Breath Becomes Air, Beartown, and then Never Let Me Go. And Never Let Me Go was sad in like a detached way. Beartown is sad in like a very attached way. I am very attached to these characters. I'm attached to the plot. I'm attached to the town and to the hockey that is talked about so incredibly much in this book. And oh my god, please push through the beginning, because sometimes with Frederick Bachman books, it's so hard to get through because there's so much detail and you learn about so many different people. But I promise you, there's a reason for that, and it's because they're all connected in one way or another. Like, it just shows you, like I said this about Anxious People as well, it shows you that you are literally not alone. In anything you're going through, you're not alone. And that might be like too much for people to think about, but literally we are like one person, one speck of dust on this rotating rock in the middle of space. And like, obviously you're not gonna like, you know, when you go on some TikToks, at least for me, with some of the algorithm that I've created for myself, I see people comment like, I've never had a original, like an original experience ever in my entire life. And that is so true. And it works not just with things that you think are just for you, like if you eat your sandwich a certain way, or if you do something certain ways. It's not just that, it's the bad things as well. You're never literally alone in anything that you're experiencing. I could talk about this book from now until tomorrow. I'm not gonna bore your ears with that, but just know, even though it didn't make me cry, it did make me feel such deep emotions and so many complex things. Just the lines, oh, and the way that it's written and the way that it's like just translated and the way that the author gets the feelings across so well and like speaks on things that people don't really speak on. That is all that I have to yap about this time. 5 stars, absolutely recommend it. This is gonna become one of the books that I think about literally every day of my life, I think, because there's just so much wisdom in it and so much just like beauty and just so much heart. Literally, it's just it has so much heart in it, guys, and I absolutely adore it and I love it, and I am so incredibly happy that I got to experience what the hype is when it comes to Frederick Bachman and his writing and Beartown. If you're an empath, this is really gonna hurt, and I'm sorry to say that, but I definitely recommend it, and I love it and I adore it, and I'm gonna be thinking about this every day. Hi everybody, welcome back to a different day. I am starting a new book today. It's gonna be Shark Heart by Emily Hebeck, and this one is, from what I understand, it's about a guy who turns into a shark. Like, he gets like this disease, sickness situation, and he ends up turning into a shark, and we just follow along his story. I've seen a couple of people read this book and I've been really interested in it, and I've seen people's reactions to reading this book and they do end up crying usually, and so I thought it might be really interesting to see if this makes me cry. Like I said, romances are typically the books that make me cry, and this one, if you can tell, it says a love story right here, so I feel like it's gonna make me cry. And if there's one thing I hate, it's like goodbyes and grief and stuff like that, which everybody else does, I'm pretty sure, but this one I assume has a lot of it. I don't know if I should say that I hope it makes me cry, because I don't want to cry, but if it does, that also benefits this video. So I don't know, we'll see. Guys, I am 87 pages in and I've already cried. This is very difficult. Oh my god. It's just so heavy, you know? Like reading about someone who you know is about to be gone, and this is literally just following the story of someone who is we're gonna lose eventually at the end of the book, I assume, because he's turning into a shark. It's just so difficult to like see the people that he loves and like what they're going through and what he's going through, knowing that he's not gonna be around. It's so difficult, and like it just feels so heavy. And I didn't even expect to cry this early on in the book. This might be a very like a lot of crying type of book. I'm not gonna be able to read this at work because I'm sure I'm gonna end up bursting into tears, and no one wants to see that. So I think this is the earliest I've ever cried about a book before, so I don't know what to do with myself. I'm scared for the ending of this book. I'm laughing because I'm like, genuinely, if I'm crying now, I don't know what the hell I'm gonna do in like 300 pages. Oh, I don't even want to think about the ending. I don't. I'm not even gonna flex with y'all. I cried a lot today. Yeah, I'm on page just opening this makes me anxious. I'm on page 217, so I'm on like 52% of this book, and I'm definitely gonna be finishing this tomorrow. It's very painful. It's very deep. It's very hurtful. It's very like will tear your heart out of your chest and make you bleed and cry and just feel so many emotions. I just got to the part where the dude has been turned into a shark, and this world is like, it has like, it's not only that you can turn into a shark, and it's not only him, like a plenty of other people. Like one of the characters in this book is pregnant with twins who are birds, who are gonna be birds when they're born. So like, and one of them has a husband who turned into a zebra. So it's like, it's a lot of different animals. So it's not just a shark, but his is like the most advanced, like really rapidly changing condition, and it's really, really painful. And I don't have enough words to talk about how painful it is to read about a character who is like Ren, who is our main character, the wife of the person who turns into a shark. She is the strongest person I've ever read about, and I feel her pain so strongly, and I'm so attached to her. And I've only read like 200 pages, and I'm so freaking attached to her, and I love her. And seeing her go through all these things, like with her mother and then with her husband, and the way that her life has gone, and I just love her as a character so much. And this book has destroyed me already, and I'm not even finished with it. I'm not even like anywhere near the end, and so I'm really, really scared to how I'm gonna react when I finish this. I think that will be tomorrow. I probably will finish it tomorrow, which makes me really anxious and really nervous, but very excited at the same time. I'm so happy that I picked this book up, because I was kind of on the verge of being like, should I read this, should I not read this, because not a lot of people have talked about it. It's just the people that I watch, so I didn't know if this was like an objectively sad book, but it is, in my opinion. want to cry so bad. I think after I finish filming, I'm probably going to sit and cry a little bit more. I have finished with Shark Heart by Emily Hibbeck, and I'm giving this one 5 stars. It is one of the most fantastic novels I've ever read, and I don't ever use the word fantastic, but it is. It's exactly that. It is fantastic. It's beautiful, it's wonderful, it's lovely, it's heartbreaking, heart-wrenching. Just, you feel so much from beginning to end. I cried this morning when I read, like when I got back into the book after yesterday. I cried yesterday a countless amount of times when I first started this book, cried this morning, and I feel like crying now. I did shed a couple of tears while I was reading the ending. It's a story of love and letting go and grief, so much grief. If you have a lot of feelings about grief, then I think this book is for you. I definitely would recommend checking the trigger warnings for all of the books that I've read in this video, like I've said, but specifically this one. And I think I'm going to be thinking about this book for a very long time. I don't know how there's not a lot of people talking about this book, at least the ones that I watch. It is an absolute beautiful masterpiece of a book, and I cannot believe that this is Emily's debut novel, because it is so just so well done. It's so well done. You can tell the love and the effort and the time that went through making this book and creating these characters that you feel so attached to. I so recommend reading it. If you don't, you are definitely missing out. I love this book so much. I love this book so much. I don't even know how I can describe my feelings towards this book in words, because I just adore it so much. I'm so glad to be able to say that I've read her debut novel when she has no other works out, and I'm so looking forward to reading more of Emily's writing. And whenever she comes out with a new novel, I will definitely be in line trying to get to the next book and that she releases, because I think her writing is incredible and beautiful, and she crafted such a beautiful story and such incredible characters that you feel so attached to from the very first page. I was so hesitant to pick it up because of how little people talk about it, but if I get even one person to read this book from this video, then I am so glad for that, and I've done my job. And yeah, I definitely recommend. 5 stars. So beautiful, so incredible, so just heart-wrenchingly beautiful and amazing. I had the best time and the worst time in this video. I cried a lot. I think this is the video that I've cried the most in, and yeah, that was expected, to be honest. We got a 50%. I did cry about 2 of the 4 books that I've read in this video, so I think that's a win, technically. Almost did cry about Bear Town. I really enjoyed every book that I read in this video. I don't think I will be doing this ever again, because I don't want to be crying on my channel. I don't want to be known as a girl who cries over almost every book that she reads. This was just a fun experiment, because I've done like the romance genre, I've done the like psychological thriller genre, I've done the fantasy genre, so I thought I might as well do a video where I read just a bunch of books that make me cry, and I had a good time. Let me know if you've read any of these books down below, what your thoughts about them are, what your opinions are about them. Let me know if you have any sad books that made you cry and why I should add them to my TBR, because I love a good book that makes me cry. Yeah, with that being said, that is the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you watched all the way to the end, that means the world to me. I hope you have the very best day. Treat yourself to something nice, and I'll see you guys again next week with another video. Goodbye.